So, I really can't lie. Hope that audio is coming through okay. But lately, I've been thinking to myself, I really need to improve my speech and I need to improve my mind to mouth connection, because I always feel that I can construct a coherent sentence in my mind, but to get it out into actual words verbally, it became quite hard for me. And I think it's became harder for me because I've realised that there was a problem and then I've tried to fix it. So I think there's more resistance than that has came from that. So a little thing that I've seen people do online is reading out loud. Reading is one of the things that I've been enjoying for many, many years. I have quite an extensive collection. I believe almost just shy of 600 books, and that's not including anything that's digital. But I believe that if you just read inside your own head, apparently, if you read just regularly, you're using the lowest tone that your vocal cords can produce. So there's some little scientific facts for you there. How that creates better sentences and creates better fluidity when you speak, I'm not too sure. But I think it's best to read out loud rather than to read in your head. So I'm going to set a timer for 10 minutes and I'm going to just read straight. I'm going to just read out loud for 10 minutes. And hopefully if I keep on doing this over time, if I keep on doing this consistently, then eventually I may not become a advanced conversationalist, but I'd like to be a good speaker and maybe do some public speaking in the future as well. Right, so I'm just going to load the timer up. So the book that I'm reading is The 12-Week Year by Brian Morgan and Michael Lennington. It's all about, really, the people who love this book will completely disagree with me. It's all about quarterly planning. How you're not looking at a year as 12 months, you're looking at it as like 12-week segments, right, which is 3 months roughly. You get 4 12-week periods. And it's pretty much just about productivity and how to set your life up for the most efficiency. Right, set this timer up. Okay, and where are we? I think I just got into chapter 9 or chapter 8. Yeah, chapter 9. I'll tell you what then, because the start of chapter 9 is only 1 page back, I'll start from chapter 9. Sorry if you can hear any sirens as well, I've got that window open purely just for the signal. Right, 10 minutes, starting now. Chapter 9, interest versus commitment. Commitments are a powerful part of the 12-week year. An ability to make and keep commitments improves results, builds trust, and fosters high-performance teams. Yet many of us avoid making commitments, and worse yet, we often break them when the going gets tough. It's actually quite... Is it coincidental? Is it coincidental? I don't know, but I'm going to use that word anyway. It's quite coincidental how... I remember reading this, I think it wasn't yesterday, it was the day before, and it says, you know, to keep the commitments that you set for yourself, it builds trust. And it says that when the going gets tough, then we usually break the commitments, right? Which would then, therefore, break the trust. Okay, so who's that trust with? It reminds me of a book called Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. I believe the book was published in the 60s, the 1960s. And that's all about creating a self-image. And pretty much not to completely override this video, but to create a new self-image, you have to start getting yourself out of your comfort zones, even if it's just a little bit. Like this for me right now was me getting out of my comfort zone to read out loud on camera. Leave your comfort zone just a little bit every now and then, and eventually that will build trust within yourself to subconsciously say, okay, well, maybe this is who I am. Maybe this is my new self-image. And Dr. Maxwell Maltz, he talks about creating a new self-image over time. And that is what is very similar to me within this 9th chapter, at the start of this 9th chapter. I don't mind speaking out loud because it's sort of the same thing as reading out loud. How long have we got? 7.5 minutes. We often break them when the going gets tough. It's very, very important to build trust within yourself, especially if you want to create a new self-image. And it's important to create these little commitments. Just go outside your comfort zone just a little bit, just so you can keep that trust, build that trust, and not break that trust. Because if you break the trust of yourself, then you can break it with anyone else. If you break a commitment to yourself, you can break it to anyone else. Same thing with promises. To be truly great at what we do, we have to become better at keeping our promises. And then there's a quote here, I can't pronounce that fella's name. Commitment is an act, not a word. There is an old anecdote about commitments involving a chicken and a pig at breakfast time. The chicken has contributed the egg and is therefore merely interested in the breakfast. The pig, however, contributes the bacon and thus completely committed. It's a humorous story, but ultimately paints a negative picture of commitment. So I suppose that story reflects on the chicken, how the chicken has provided the egg, so it's therefore just interested in the breakfast. Whereas the pig has contributed the bacon, so he's committed within the entire thing. I think that's how the story is supposed to be interpreted. It's a humorous story, but ultimately paints a negative picture of commitment. In reality, kept commitments benefit both parties involved by improving relationships, strengthening integrity, and building self-confidence. Commitments are powerful and oftentimes life-changing. I'm sure you can recall a time when you were determined to accomplish something meaningful, and you were willing to do whatever it took to make it happen. One of the most powerful commitments that I ever made was to my father. It was the summer after my first year of college, and I remember the conversation like it was yesterday. The two of us were working in his garden, talking about my freshman year. It quickly became apparent to me during that conversation that my father and I had different perspectives on the purpose of college. The issue was my grades. I was on the dean's list, but unfortunately for me, the dean kept 2 lists, and I was on the one for academic probation. My father explained that he was unwilling to continue helping with tuition unless my results improved. I felt terrible, and I made a commitment that day to my father and myself. I promised him that when I went back to school in the fall, I would get all A's. He challenged me to meet my commitments by adding to the stakes. If I get all A's, he would give me $500. If I didn't, I would owe him $500. When I went back to school that fall, I pulled out all the stops. I went to class, took notes in lectures, read the texts, and did the homework. I also stopped socialising as much as I had during my first year. In the end, I got the grades, straight A's. The $500 is long gone, but that commitment changed my life. I started showing up on the real Dean's list, and I never went back. My story is a great example of commitment. A commitment is a personal promise. Keeping your promises to others builds Keeping your promises to others builds trust and strong relationships. And keeping promises to yourself builds character, esteem, and success. Then there's a quote by Peter Drucker. Unless commitment is made, there are only promises and hopes, but no plans. A definition of commitment that I like is the state of being bound emotionally or intellectually to a course of action. American Heritage Dictionary, 4th edition. From this perspective, a commitment is a conscious choice to act in order to create a desired result. We all know intuitively that an ability to keep commitments is fundamental to effective execution and high performance. But many of us fall short of our commitments on a regular basis. That's another thing as well, like if you say that you're going to do something and then you don't do it, if you do that consistently, you're not going to trust yourself when you then set another commitment. Where was I up to? It seems that when things get difficult, we find reasons why we can't keep our promises and we shift our focus to other activities. Often, our interest wanes when things get tough. It is important to understand that there is a difference between interest and commitment. When you're interested in doing something, you do it only when circumstances permit. But when you're committed to something, you accept no excuses, only results. When we commit to something, we do things that we would not ordinarily do. The question of if goes away, and the only question you ask is how. Commitment is powerful, but there are times when all of us struggle to commit. Here are the 4 keys to successful commitments. Number 1, strong desire. In order to fully commit to something, you need a clear and personally compelling reason. Without a strong desire, you will struggle when the implementation gets difficult. But with a compelling desire, seemingly insurmountable obstacles are seen as challenges to be met. I know that wasn't a full 10 minutes, because I did sort of go off on a ramble there about psycho-cybernetics and Dr. Maxwell Maltz. I don't necessarily mind that all that much, because I'm still talking out loud and I'm still creating sentences. Even better, I'm creating sentences in my own head and I'm speaking them to the camera as well. Whereas this, obviously just reading words off of a page, you're reading someone else's sentences. Still a good exercise to do, I would say, if you would like to better your speech. And I think it's also weird as well how in a book, for example, when you're reading out loud, you can see the words there, and a lot of the words you are familiar with. But then you see me then, I don't think I was necessarily talking that fast, but I was still tripping up every once in a while. So it's definitely an exercise I'm going to keep on doing, and I may as well record it for the sake of it. Thank you for watching.